Welcome to my channel. I'm pianist Jeeyoon Kim. So today I'm filming this video in collaboration with another pianist whose name is Khomichko. I follow her channel as well. I find her channel and I are very similar in character. She also has behind scenes clips, practice tips, performance videos, and some vlogs here and there as a concert pianist. She's now based in Germany from Russia. And we thought it would be really fun to share one question. Basically, I'm going to talk about today comparison between Korea and American music education system. In fact, it's going to be two parts because I don't want one video to be too long. So today I'm going to talk about Korean music education system. And while she's going to talk about German and Russian music education system. So I'm personally very excited to see and watch what she has to say from her experience as a pianist and growing up in Russia and now based in Germany. So if you're interested in, please go ahead to go to Anna's channel and subscribe, and I will put her link in the show note below as well. So let's get started. So as I said, this is going to be two parts. Today I'm going to talk about Korean music education system. Before I get started, I actually want to mention that my experience with Korean music education system is 20 years ago. So it may have been changed a lot since I left there. But I'm only staying at this based on my experience growing up there. Did my whole music education up until the end of undergrad. So I started my piano education when I was 4, and then I went to art high school, majoring piano, and then I went to university in Korea, did my undergrad. Afterwards, I came to America, did my master's and doctorate in Indiana University, major in piano performance. And then afterwards, I did my master's degree again in piano pedagogy at Butler University. And ever since then, I actually have experience of teaching students for almost 20 years in America. So today when I talk about Korean music education system, that is my experience from up until undergrad. I don't actually have experience teaching in Korea, so that I don't know yet. In fact, I forgot a lot of terminology in music in Korean. So today I will be talking about what was good and maybe advantage of growing up and doing my education in Korea, and also later I will talk about what was not necessarily the best way of going about a music education system as well. So first, good. Number one is their uses of solfege. So they're using do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Versus in America, we use C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I find using solfege, it's much more musical. So we use solfege for everything when I grew up. In fact, when I actually play piano right now, the solfege, the letter, it's actually in my head. That kind of foundation I find is much more musical. Number two is their singing culture. Maybe this is not solely because of the music education system, but generally speaking, in Korea, probably everybody loves to sing. So the word karaoke is Japanese, but every other block of Korea, there's karaoke. And every gathering of, I don't know, just get together with friends. I remember going to karaoke with my friends in middle school, even high school, just, I don't know, just for no reason, for fun. And the singing culture, every gathering, even not even karaoke at home, my parents used to sing, so is my friends' parents, and that kind of singing is so natural. I find the most primitive and most important instrument that we have is voice. So that kind of a cultural encouragement for everybody to just enjoy singing, and even the music class that we sing all the time, I think that's very beneficial for anyone who wants to major in any other instruments as well. I find it's a big plus growing up in Korea. Number 3, their introduction of hands together is very early. This is based on my observation teaching in America as well. So in Korea, I actually remember playing, even though it's a parallel movement, I use both hands at the same time from day one. And introduction to pieces like Bach or counterpoint pieces are very early on, and the reading of a hand's different kind of movement was also very early on. So I think it's really encouraged the students to read to different staffs independently, and hand coordination as well. Number 4, their uses of technical methods, almost like religiously. They're also not good about using too much Hanon and Czerny or things like that. But overall, they use some kind of technical methods from the very early on. And I find that that's really helpful for students to develop the technical, especially the dexterity of the hands. And I think as long as you use this kind of technical methods with a musical approach, it's really helpful for beginners, especially to develop that dexterity. Learning one piece in depth. So I'm talking now my experience going through university entrance exam. So in order to get in a university, you have to pass this exam. And during that time, I remember working one etude, maybe one Chopin etude or list, and one Beethoven sonata, first movement up until recapitulation for almost a year. Imagine you work on that part or that one piece for that year, practicing almost 6 to 7 hours a day. You really develop a skill every possible way of cooking this piece, developing practice methods, musical line, and so I find that kind of experience going one piece so depth really helps for any piano majors later on to dig in a piece deeper based on that experience. Number 6 is fast-paced learning notes. I mentioned earlier that Korea, we introduced counterpoints early on. It's a very similar idea. The learning new repertoire was very much encouraged. And later when I talk about their environment, it's the Music Institute environment, it's encouraged that, you want to get to next level quickly and getting more of a repertoire at the beginning stage. Much easier when you get into intermediate repertoire because that's so much in your system. Number 7 is music is a subject for everybody, not only grade school, middle school, and high school. So I remember in Korea, of course, for me, majoring piano, general music subject was fairly easy. They were just barely talking about 16th notes and a lot of just singing, recorder, melodian, ensembles, but a lot of like a choir kind of singing together in Korean traditional music as well. And I remember loving it. I know that's not true in America. Music is optional, while in Korea, that was always mandatory for everybody, and maybe that something to do with everybody loves singing, but I hope they continue doing that. I really believe that having music as a subject and when you're going through education system is critical. Regardless what you're gonna major later on, and getting some foundational seed in music is really important. Number 8, this might be the best advantage when I grew up and raised and going through this system, which is you go to Music Institute as a first step every single day, except weekends probably. So by doing it, you really develop a habit of practicing every day. So how it worked in Korea is that when I was 4, I went to Music Institute in my local area, and I went there every single day. I practiced maybe on my own when I went to the institute, maybe for 30 minutes. I knew what I had to do. And then I had a lesson maybe for 10 minutes and then went home. Next day, I went back there and I practiced maybe about 30 minutes and I have a really miniature lesson and went back home. I did practice at home as well, but going to an institute was a step that I always had to do happily. Now I realize that kind of routine made me develop critical discipline habit, which is everyday practice and how to practice, what to practice, and so inevitably you do practice a lot more. So now we're going to talk about not the best aspect of being in Korea and going through music education system. Number 1 is severe competition. Competition, I'm not saying there's a lot actual competition, getting a prize and things. Not only that, but overall there are so many actually major at the time that I went through, there are a lot of people majoring or wanted to major in piano, so that it's a direct comparison, especially when you're like a little more insecure, teenager, things like that. And you played one Chopin etude and so someone else is playing same Chopin etude, then you inevitably compare, oh, so and so plays less mistake and so and so plays faster. And I'm not sure that's the best environment. Maybe some ways that encourages some students to practice harder, but I believe that competition should generate within you, not too much of external comparison, and almost put that perfectionist mindset, like a faster and no mistake. It's been more praised. Number 2 is more focus on test than a recital. So since I went through art high school and also undergrad system, there were recital subject in undergrad as well, but more importantly, we're focusing on the test. So even after the test, we knew who is actually placed number 1, who was number 2, to everybody it was the public information. So while, when I went through master's inductive program or as a teacher in America, they're more focusing on the recital, which I believe in, because after all, we play piano for, sharing and joy of music. So when I went through a Korean system, there were more about getting a higher score for the test. And when I did the piano exam, obviously there's only like 4 or 5 professors only. There's no audience. You only play up until recapitulations in sonata, things like that. So it felt like too mechanical, a little bit dry. Maybe sometimes for certain students, maybe it's too fast paced at the beginning. I talked about introducing, 2 hands together as an advantage, but hindsight of this is that maybe that's a bit too fast. Certain students, they lose their motivation as a beginner. Actually, a lot of students at the beginning stage is kind of fun stage, that moving faster, a lot of fun. But in Korea, I find that it's beginner stage is just still very difficult stage because every step they introduce this concept like counterpoint, hand coordination, everything. And so maybe that's too fast for certain students. That really leads to my next point, that is lacking a bit of individuality in terms of the progress. So in Korea, I remember you're supposed to go through this method. You have to go through this kind of sonatina, this pace, everyone else playing it. Actually, because of that, you want to go through that piece as well. But I don't know how much teachers ask students that, would you like to play this piece? Would you like to? It's more of that's how it is, and you just go through. So inevitably lacking some tailored program for each student. Not enough music theory and keyboard harmony, especially before undergrad. I went through art high school again. So at the time I did my theory, and I also did a lot of like church music, and because I was a accompanist in church, so I did my own harmonization and things. But overall in the music institute and things like that, I don't remember doing a lot of those. And in university as well, there is definitely a theory in keyboard harmony, but feels a bit not enough. It's like a checkpoint. You have to do it and do it, rather than it's really integrated into the program. So that goes to the next point. Maybe this is maybe the worst aspect of being in Korea. That is too focused on university entrance exam. So it is difficult. That's why it is. Getting into one university which is reputable is tremendously difficult. Let's say if there is like 15 students are selected, there might be about 300 or more students will apply for the university. And that's only one time per year to do that exam, and it's really a lot of pressure. Senior year of high school is really stressful time in Korea. It's almost like your life is on it. So because of that reason, as I said, as an advantage is that you learn one piece really depth. It's almost like you automatically be able to play that piece really well. But after getting into university, you would feel like you got it all. That happens a lot to many of my friends who went through art high school together. After they got into great university, I mean, very reputable university, and they kind of lose their motivation. Like, I want to do something else finally, you know, something like that. So I wish that, you know, the bar of their university exam will be lower, but more maybe harder to graduate, so they really keep moving forward and not really discouraged to move forward. Because, you know, being a pianist is getting into university is not even the first step. It is actually 10 years and 20 years after you going through a higher degree. So I find that a lot of Korean students lose their fuel after getting into university. So that comes to the last point. That's probably related to culture as well. In Korea, I find that in music history class or music theory or lesson in general, has been not a lot of discussion. Of course, this is depending on, you know, teacher. I actually had a great teacher in Korea that we did talk a lot, but overall, I find there's a lot of direct instruction, and that's the way you should do. Even like history class, that's how it is, rather than active participation of discussion. So maybe that's a lot to do with the culture itself. But yeah, that kind of less open kind of instruction may hinder some students to find their own voice in their music making. So That goes to my discussion about Korean music education system about 20 years ago. So hopefully some bad things improve, some good things they keep going. And let's find out what Anna has to say with her experience of Germany and Russia. Also, I will continue in part 2, gonna talk about American music education system. So stay tuned. Please subscribe. Please subscribe to Anna's channel as well. And thank you for your support. And if you want to support me as an artist, please go to patreon.com/journeythroughclassicalpiano. Also, tune into my podcast. I talk about one classical piano music every other Wednesday. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.